Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you made it to hour two, folks. Telephone number for us is 281-558-5738. 281-558-KSEB. Put you in touch with not your typical morning show, my friends. Here, the learning is ongoing. The learning that basically you can use in your life to change your circumstance. You got to be informed before you can make change. And that is part of our mission here. Plus, I am your liberty-loving Latino. Do not confuse me with loudmouth leftist Latinos out there. I actually love my country. I actually love my state, the United States of America, and the great state of Texas. I want to welcome onto the program, folks. This is going to be I think it's a cool story because it's part of our effort because, frankly, it didn't happen with us. We've had to claw our way to some sort of notoriety in the country and in the state of Texas. And not to bemoan those who have partnered with us along the way, but those of us in this space, because of the competitive nature of this space, typically don't help each other out. I mean, when was the last time you saw Sean Hannity reach out to your liberty-loving Latino, or Scott Jennings reach out to, well, he's probably a bad example because he's a contributor, but, high-profile hosts across platforms teaming up, even though we're ideologically aligned. The support just isn't there because of the competitive nature of what we do. I want to welcome Mike, a.k.a. Taz. He spent 4 years in the Marines infantry beginning in 1972, got out as a sergeant in 76, earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science and Asian Affairs from the University of Cincinnati in 80, went back into the Navy as an officer this time, same year, earned his wings, flew as a pilot aviator for 16 years. Boy, this guy's done a lot. 1996, earned his Juris Doctor from Notre Dame. In 99, moved to Arizona, where he practiced law for 15 years, then retired again. It must be nice to have multiple retirements. Very accomplished. And he's also part of the duo called Jester Politics. Mike, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
The pleasure is all mine. And there's plenty of reasons why it is a pleasure because, look, I met your partner in Jester Politics, and he was reaching out and pointing out that some of the things I was saying on the old Newsmax show kind of aligned with, almost precisely aligned with what he has been saying, what he's been advocating. So tell the story.
Well, Sean and I, we met online actually a few years ago.
Yeah.
And we're both that he was Air Force, which, we sort of the Navy point because of the aviators thing. But anyway,
yeah.
And we both came from similar but diverse backgrounds. We both grew up less than wealthy, actually quite poor.
Yes.
And we had to make our own way in the world. He did it his way, I did it my way. And we both agree that education is important, but there's more than one way to get an education. You don't have to go to college to learn stuff. In fact, I'm an advocate that just because a person has letters behind their name doesn't mean they know anything. You really need to listen to them and make your own decision whether you think they actually know something. So, and we're both very, very strong patriots. You won't find any stronger. And though we disagree, Sean is a hardcore conservative, I guess, and I'm more of a Lockean constitutionalist, natural rights, interpret the Constitution the way it's written and go about life. And we disagree on several items, but we agree on most of it. And I think that's what makes this work for us is we just don't pat each other on the back and live in a bubble. And we challenge each other oftentimes on things that we want to say on the site or believe in. And I think that sort of makes us look at our own positions and keeps us honest. I don't know. I just really like the interaction of it.
No, I do
so
too.
We decided to make Jester Politics as he says as a means for telling the truth, and I say as a means just to get what I believe is the truth out. So that's where we stand at.
Yeah, and you know what? How we met is Sean drops me a note saying, "Hey, man, he thought I was reading his stuff and putting it out on television. It just I wasn't." But when he sent me his stuff, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy is." I mean, he and I walk very much a very similar ideological path. And for me, because there are so few of us out there, at least in that we can coordinate with, that we can talk with, that we can support each other. To me, my instinct was to reach out to him, and because he had to be called away out of the country, I thank you for stepping in. Give me your evaluation, if you will, of where you think our country is right now, coming into the second year of President Trump's second term.
I think we're reasserting ourselves on the national or on the international stage. I write extensively both on gesture politics and on my Substack, and one of the articles I wrote recently was, "Where do we stand with NATO?" That's not the title. I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but should we rethink our relationships with Europe? And I think that Trump is pushing that, and he's forcing the Europeans to start waking up and smell the coffee. Ever since I was in the Navy, I've always said our future, ours being the U.S., is in the Atlantic, not the Pacific. I think China is the geopolitical nemesis or potential nemesis. I don't think Russia. I think Russia's a paper tiger to a large extent. In fact, when I was on active duty, we used to have a saying that Russia's never as strong as we fear and never as weak as we hope.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a look at the Russian army, they spent 4 years fighting against Ukraine, granted with vast amounts of military support from the West, but they haven't advanced very much. That tells me that their military is stuck in 1920 or 1940 tactics. China, on the other hand, I think is our geopolitical nemesis. So I think Trump's pivot to the Western Hemisphere and the Indo-Pakistan or Indo-Pacific region is the correct one. Of course, it's freaking the Europeans out because they've sat around since the 60s and refused to fund their own defense. And now all of a sudden they're all screaming that we're abandoning them. We're not abandoning them.
Oh no!
We're merely telling them they got to step up to the plate.
Yeah, I'd suggest that Europe abandoned the West a long time ago. I would say that it is Europe that has turned its back on the values and the precepts that have done so much to ease, as Reagan put it, the suffering of our imperfect world. It is they who have sidled up with leftists and socialists and abandoned who we are as a people, as a Western people. Mike is our guest right now, folks. He's part of the duo of Jester Politics. And for those of you on Rumble, you can see the slate from their presence on X. We're putting that up there when Mike is speaking. Let's bring things home. What do you think our domestic situation? What do you think of that?
I think we're right where we always have been. People keep telling me how terrible it is, and I'm an old guy. I'm 71 years old, and I keep reminding them when I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, we had the race riots. We had civil liberties hangings, the marches for civil liberties and civil rights. We had the free speech issues. We had the anti-war demonstrations. We had the Weatherman Underground, Weathermen. We had SDS. We had the bombings. We had the shootings. This seems to go in cycles in the U.S. And if you look back before then, pre-World War II, you had the same thing. So I think Americans always find a way to engage in social unrest. So it's no worse than it has been in the past, I don't think. I think the one danger that I see today is people embracing, for some reason, the Palestinian cause and running around with Palestinian confused. I actually lived in Israel as a Marine Guard for a year when the consulate in Jerusalem. And Palestinians are, Hamas is a very nasty organization.
Yes, it
and
is.
Always has been, always will be.
Mm-hmm.
And the predecessor to that was Yasser Arafat and his PLO. And they make no bones about the fact that they want to just kill Jews and establish Sharia law along with Iran and the Houthis and Hezbollah. And I just don't understand the sweeping, what's sweeping the college campuses where these people are embracing this type of ideology is just, to me, absolutely amazing.
It is.
And I keep that. Yeah, I don't understand it. And what I really don't understand is everybody, not everybody, these people complain about Jews for some reason. I mean, my God, the Jews are the most persecuted people in the history of the world.
Well, I think I think what you're describing here was maybe sets us apart from the 60s and the early 70s with the turmoil that you rightly point out. America has been through a lot of turmoil. And I kind of go back to the Civil War and what I am seeing right now when you have an entire political party. It's not just a scant faction to the left or to the right. The entirety of the Democrat Party is arrayed to be anti-American. I mean, you have one of the two recognized political parties, which, by the way, I think the two-party system is a sham at this point. But you've got one of the two openly declaring lawlessness, openly fomenting violence against ICE agents, against law enforcement, openly saying the laws don't apply, openly embracing Hamas and terrorist organizations to attack Israel. I mean, it's this, and the anti-Semitism that Alan Dershowitz and others have said is running rampant through the veins of the Democrat Socialist Party. To me, that puts us in well, I don't want to say uncharted territory because of the aforementioned Civil War, but I in my lifetime I have never seen the Democrats more openly hate-filled for their own country, to where they're going on foreign soil and doing what they're doing. Do you think that may be a cut above where we were in the 60s as far as dangers to this nation?
I think the Democratic Party is either going to reform or going to just become a rump party like the old Federalist Party did. And to go back to a point you made earlier about the Democrats being the party of violence and let's disregard laws and stuff like that, as you pointed out, that's exactly what they did in the Civil War. Prior to the Civil War,
yes,
they were trying to just override federal law. So I don't think we're there. And I really get upset when I see people talking about let's have a Civil War type thing.
Yeah, as if it's going to be a picnic, you know.
Shut.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, if you haven't been shot at, you shouldn't even talk like that because, I'm not. I haven't been shot at a lot. I was a pilot and I got shot at a couple times. Which one was the Iranians? Come think of it, well, both. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like
those
the Iranian regime, but
the Iranians. Yes,
I'm sorry.
No, I'll just say those Iranians. Yeah. They've been a thorn in our posterior for a good many years. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're well, not the Iranian people, but the mullahs are a very strange group.
The so-called government.
But yeah, I think that you pointed out a valid danger. But I think I'm not sure. I think a lot of us tend to get wrapped up on social media and think that's really an accurate reflection of the way society is. I'm not so sure it is. So, I can
tell you, Mike, in my profession, I don't see a lot of these. Back in the 1960s, when you had the violence breaking out, you had Democrats who would come out and say, look, this is not acceptable. Now you've got a majority of the Democrat Party cheering the violence on. You have Mark Kelly, and I've been dying to ask you about this because Mark Kelly is saying he may run for president. Here's a guy who wore the uniform, who dares to call himself still a captain in the United States Navy. And he was openly saying that the troops should defy lawful orders from the commander-in-chief. I mean, wrong on so many levels as far as chain of command. Don't get me started on the constitutionality. This is where the Democrat Party is. And it's shocking.
Right.
Talk to me about your feelings about Mark Kelly.
Well, me and Mark Kelly disagree on just about everything that comes out of his mouth. He is rightfully claiming he is a captain. But what people don't understand, I'm a retired lieutenant commander, which would be a major. I went from E1 to major,
okay,
or lieutenant commander. When you retire, you're not retired. You move to the retired list or the inactive list.
Yes.
And your pay is not retirement pay. It's basically a retainer pay. So I'm subject to UCMJ. If I go out and I do something stupid, they can recall me to active duty. And try me in a court martial.
Yeah, isn't that what Kelly deserves after what he pulled with that video, that seditious video?
I think Kelly deserves a letter of reprimand. I don't know how big and deep in the weeds you want to go in this. You got me on a law thing now. Being a former lawyer.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna cut a video as a sitting United States senator, as a retired captain in the United States Navy, and you're going to tell service members to disobey orders from the commander in chief, to me that's seditious.
Well, here's what makes this. Here's, in my opinion, what makes this so egregious is he didn't come out and say disobey a lawful order. He did the wink, wink. You have a duty not to obey unlawful orders. Well, everybody knows that. But the question is what's an unlawful order? So he's telling his people to make up your mind about what's an unlawful order,
right,
and then either choose to obey it or not obey it. And that's very dangerous, and that undermines the chain of command. Because they have lawyers in the military. If you have a question about whether this order is legal, you just send it up the chain of command, and you'll get a reply real quick. And they're not going to play games. I mean, the days of the Nightly Massacre are over with. Nobody puts up with that nonsense or anything close to it.
Yeah.
But I think he violated. I think it's Article 134, 134, 135, the UCMJ, and I think he needs to be yanked up on it. Does he need to be court-martialed? Probably not. Court-martial is. Everybody thinks a court-martial is a kangaroo court. It's really not. I've actually had to sit on a couple of them, and they're very much like a civilian trial, except the jury is military officers and enlisted people.
Well, at the very least, he's got to get some sort of consequences because
now here's why I say, I agree 100%. Here's why I say give him a letter of reprimand. You cannot appeal that.
Right. Well, I mean, knock him down in rank. I mean, if you knock him down in rank, his retirement compensation, or as you say, his retaining compensation goes down. He pays a literal price for what many of us regard as a seditious act. And I think that was kind of the entire theme of the conservative movement now is, where is the equal application of law? Where is the accountability? I'm tired of accepting this predicate that left-wingers, whether it be illegal immigration, whether it be any law or concept they don't like or think that they're subject to, they get to break it with impunity. And I'm tired of Republicans agreeing with that as Republicans and conservatives go to jail for doing allegedly the same thing. So
I agree 100%. I think what you're seeing right now is being played out with the subpoenas with the Clintons.
Yes.
Who was it? Roger Stone went to jail over that.
Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon. Yeah, exactly. Right. Hey, Mike, look, I'm up against the clock here, but I wanted to get one more plug in for Jester Politics. Mm-hmm. It's Mike and Sean, folks, in Jester Politics. It is you can catch them on X. Mike, give the rundown of where folks can catch your discussions.
We're having some difficulty with X right now. We used to do a space on it, but we put that on hold until we can find an alternate forum to put it on, because X is just crashing too much and it was interrupting things. So our weekly spaces is put on hold until Sean can get another platform for us. Gotcha.
Well, I've got, may I suggest our friends at Rumble? They are very good and great partners at SCS_real, at SCS_real. That's where you can find Vox Veritas Contra Tyrannida, I believe. Tyrannida is what you guys go under. And look, please give Sean. I'm sad he couldn't join us, but what he was laying down, so was I. And when you find like-minded people in this business that you can reach out to and feature, that's kind of what I wanted to do. And thank you for your service to the country, my friend.
If I could just really quickly throw out there that our website is jesterpolitics.com.
Jesterpolitics.com. Thank you, man. Thanks for the service to the country and great discussion. Appreciate it.